Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside Egypt. I'm Mike Hanna. The UN estimates that more than 99% of Egyptian women have experienced some kind of sexual harassment. And in the past few years, sexual attacks by groups of men have become common. Rights groups say it's a product of a patriarchal society that subordinates women. It's made worse by media and politicians that have largely ignored the issue. And many argue that it's not been taken seriously by police either. Until now, it seems. Last Sunday, as people celebrated the inauguration of a new president in Tahrir Square, a video too graphic to show on air was taken of a 19-year-old woman being assaulted. She'd been stripped naked and was injured, was trying to, with the help of a policeman, to escape from a large group of men who had just attacked her in the middle of the square. She was one of several women assaulted that night, and unusually for Egypt, the story dominated headlines all week. Then on Wednesday, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visited the young woman in hospital. It was an unprecedented decision for one of Sisi's first public engagements as president. Rights groups consider his visit a positive step. Others questioned his motives. It was, of course, Sisi in 2011, then a high-ranking general, who justified the army's practice of forcing female detainees to take virginity tests. Well, just days before leaving office, Egypt's outgoing president, Adli Mansour, issued a decree that criminalized sexual harassment. For verbal abuse, an offender can be punished with a minimum 6-month jail term and a fine of around $420. But depending on the crime, that can rise to a prison sentence of 2 years and a fine of up to around $7,000. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has also told police that they must take a zero-tolerance approach to sexual crimes. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by our guests. Here in Doha, Ayat Oraby, editor-in-chief of Noonelneswa, the first Arab-American women's magazine published in the US. Joining us on Skype from Cairo, Shahira Amin, Egypt contributor to Index on Censorship. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Let's begin with Shahira Amin in Cairo. The new law that has just been passed by decree, can it have an impact on combating this illegal act?
Well, Mike, it's a good first step, I would say, but we have many good laws, and what we need to see is enforcement of the law. This is what we're hoping, that the perpetrators of these crimes will be brought to justice, because if that law is not enforced, then it's just ink on paper, like many other laws that we have.
Well, Ayat Oraby, ink on paper, just like other laws?
Actually, the problem not only on the laws. I see the sexual harassment is part of the culture. As you know, that the Egyptian people, they always treat women as like the second citizen. They never give the right that we always mean. They always look at the woman like they are apples. They have to get it whenever they want. So the problem actually is not the law. The problem is how to implement the law, how to change the culture. I see the problem in Egypt, and I think Shahira, and I know her very well and I always follow her, she will agree with me. The culture of the people has to be changed. We have to start with the little age, like in America as an example. They educate the children from the beginning, they teach them how to differentiate the gender, men and women, female and males, and how to respect. We have kind of respect to women, and this is what we actually want. We want a society to respect women as human beings.
Well, Shahira, I mean, your view on that. We are talking about something that is rooted in a society that has to be changed, are we not?
Sexual harassment is an epidemic in Egypt. It's reached epidemic proportions. And in fact, there's been a surge in the last 3 years since the uprising that toppled Mubarak. This could be because more women are now speaking out in the freer environment. Before, it was a big shame, and I think the silence was broken last year on the 25th of January, on the anniversary of the uprising, when 19 women were sexually assaulted in the square. And they all came out, they came forward, and they spoke to the media. So that was when the silence was broken. And this is thanks to the efforts of many civil society organizations working at the grassroots, spreading awareness about the scourge. But I agree with Ayat, who said that we need to educate people from a young age, because we're suffering from lack of respect for women in the patriarchal system. And it's very often the case that when women go to the police to report sexual harassment or assault incidents, they get harassed by the police. So we need reform of the police, we need reform of the judiciary, because of course, the judiciary needs to implement this new law that we have. And changing the mindset is going to take a long time.
Yes,
well, I really think there has to be like such proper training to police to deal with those situations, as well as the medics. Like, one of the problems that we really have, and one of the problems that faces that girl that was being attacked in the Tahrir Square, when she went to the hospitals, actually they didn't accept her right away, and she has to go from hospital to hospital until some hospital got accept. So we really need to like proper training to police, proper training to medics to deal with sexual harassment, to deal with those kind of situations. And as I said before, the problem now not only on the laws, how to implement those laws.
Yes, well, indeed. Shahira, the issue, we will continue discussing about the broader-based causes and reasons for it. Obviously, that is essential to address it. But let's take a look at the action of Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, his first public act, going to an assault victim and apologizing to her, apologizing, as he put it, to all women. How important was this act, and why do you think he has chosen to focus on this as one of his first acts as president?
Well, I thought that was a good step because it shows high-level commitment. We need high-level commitment because without it, of course, we can't get anywhere. So I think his act showed that there is the political will to deal with this widespread problem. Although many are questioning the fact that, you know, he took flowers and went to visit the victim of this assault at a time when virginity tests performed by the military took place back in 2011, and there was no apology from the military. And General Sisi was a member of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces when the virginity checks happened back in 2011.
Regardless of his motives, and we'll get into his motives in a moment, clearly he has defined this as an issue that is a popular one, and he is focusing on it because he realizes many Egyptians are absolutely outraged at this ongoing situation. Do you think that is correct? I
think it's correct, and also as the Egyptian woman, I'm one of the people, one of the women that I will never forget that Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was one of the general in the military, and he also the one who justified the take of the virginity test for the girls who detained at that time. So this is what was actually a big mistake, and now he is trying to fix that mistake. But no one forget. Like, I think, like Shahira said, and I am saying, and everyone else is saying the same thing. Like, he is like taking this out to light now just to make people forget what he did in 2011. But I think it's no way to forget.
Shahira, I want to put to you the same sort of question that I put here to Ayat, that regardless of el-Sisi's motives, he is a man who has been looking for popular support in every one of his actions in recent months. The fact that he has isolated this as a necessary action for popular support must mean something, does it not? It must mean a recognition that Egyptian society is angered by what goes on.
people were outraged. I'm sure you followed the tweets from Egypt. There was public outrage and people were horrified, those who watched that awful video. There are a lot of critics saying that it should be pulled from YouTube. YouTube has said it, it won't pull the video out. But I think it's a good thing that this video came out. First of all, because another suspect was arrested today. He was identified from that video. Also because it was high time that, that this topic comes to light. For many, many years, a lot of Egyptians were just burying their heads in the sand and took the issue of sexual harassment lightly. But now I think there will be zero tolerance after this outrage. And now that there's been a surge, there has to be a stop to this. Well, it's totally unacceptable.
One of the appalling figures is that we've spoken about the fact that there have been a number of people arrested in connection with this latest assault. These are the first people who have been arrested in years of incidents occurring in Tahrir Square in particular.
And also, I want to mention something. Yeah, this is very good that they finally they arrested someone, because we've been asking for that. We've been highlighting the issue of the sexual harassment in Egypt for many years, but finally media highlighted the sexual harassment as an issue in Egypt, and also the police have been moved now to just arrest someone, and because it was really really bad. If you see the video shocked everyone in Egypt, not because they figured out there is a sexual harassment, no, because of the way it happened. The woman went out naked, almost everything naked. So this is why it shocked them. But let me just tell you something. The problem with Egypt's situation with the sexual harassment, they always make it as a fault of the victim. That is the actual problem there. They always say, oh, because of the way of the woman get dressed. But we see now women with veil, women with niqab, and they being sexual harassed. So it's not only the way women dress, it's the way men look at women.
Yes, I mean, Shahira, that particular point that's just been brought up, we have heard for years a form of justification coming from, even from the authorities, that the victims are in some way to be held to blame as well. Many victims have reported that attitude from police and even from doctors when they've gone to seek medical treatment. How do you address issues like this? How do you address that type of attitude?
It happened just a couple of months ago when there was an incident of mob assault at Cairo University, and the president of the university actually blamed the victim, and there was outrage after that. But it's been happening for many years. It was always the victim that was to blame. Either she was not dressed modestly enough, or she was walking in a dark alley at the wrong time of night, all of that. But I think there are many other, it's definitely not the victim. It's both men and women's attitudes have to change. Women should no longer tolerate this, and men, and they should never blame themselves, of course, the women. And the men too should change their attitude. They should realize they have sisters, they have daughters, they have mothers. And I really think that the surge in sexual assault incidents is partly to blame. Part of the reason is the fact that, many people are frustrated and they're venting their anger at women. It's partly because of the unmet expectations. Expectations were sky high after the January 2011 revolution, and many of the goals have not been realized. There's a lot of anger and frustration, and it's being taken out on the women in part. But there are, of course, other reasons, and the main one is the culture of disrespect for women.
Well, Sisi has also ordered the formation of a committee to look into the basic fundamental causes behind sexual harassment, and he's also asked for this committee to draw up a national strategy to deal with it. Ayat Oraby, that does seem like words at this particular stage, but if you were on that committee, what would you say are the fundamental causes? There are many, but what would you say is the most important fundamental cause for ongoing sexual harassment by men of women?
What I will say that it's part of the culture. This is number one, and it's not only the state's responsibility to solve this problem. It is the whole society responsibility. So this is the number one. I will say it's a culture. So we have to start from young ages to start to do this, to change. We have to start from the beginning.
Well, Shahira, I mean, this is a very important point that was brought up there, is that you cannot necessarily blame the state. Everybody has got a role to play in this. What many activists say is that if you do not have democracy in the home, you cannot have democracy within the state, that things start with families. Do you agree that it must start at grassroots level?
Absolutely. I think mothers have a very important role in educating their sons. It has to happen at school. The media has a very significant role to play in all of this because, you know, we see this in Egyptian dramas and films where women are treated as second-class citizens, and they actually expect men to abuse them. This has to change. So it is the responsibility of every single person. But I would add one more reason, Mike, and I think it's economic as well. Because we find that many of the women who get harassed are women using public transport. And I think it's because men see them as competitors over the limited jobs that are available. So they vent their anger on these women. And every single woman I know who uses public transport has a pin with her to jab her harasser. It's you know, this is their defense mechanism.
Well, I want to go further on that particular point in a moment, but I also want to pick up what you mentioned about the media, for example. And the media we have seen in Egypt, even in the most recent event, initially, there was not a storm of outrage. It appeared to be when Sisi went to visit the victims and made it that he was concerned about it, all of a sudden the media suddenly came up in chorus behind him. This is an issue as well.
It is an issue. It is an issue because we've been asking, many years ago, sexual harassment is not only today, it's not yesterday, it's not because Sisi now at the top of the government. No, sexual harassment is being there even before 2011. It's been in the society, but now because he went to visit, now all the media has been talking about it, which is wrong, because always media in Egypt, they wait until the top of the government or the president highlights something, then they go always after this. This is part of the culture, part of the media in Egypt. They always go behind what is going on. If they want to highlight someone, if they want to give them someone the post, so they always do this. But let me just agree with Shahira with one thing, one of the previous studies that indicates that the highest rate of the sexual harassment always occurs in the urban governors, like Alexandria, like Cairo. As she mentioned, women get harassed every single day in the transportation, in the street. Let me tell you one situation happened to one of my friends. She went to visit Egypt and she came back to New York, and she was telling everyone from our group, she was telling, I was harassed everywhere in Egypt. Young men, young kids, even young kids, they were trying to touch her body everywhere she goes, and she was she felt so awful, and she said, I will never go back to Egypt if this is stay in the society. They have to do something.
Well, Shahira, I mean, we'd be talking about this as well. Obviously, women such as yourself and such as Ayat are playing a role, but ultimately the issue is men as well have got to get involved. The fathers, the brothers, the political leaders. It is a male issue as much as it is a female one to deal with this, is it not?
Of course, because the males are the harassers, but I think that they were not totally aware of the harm that they inflict on women. If they realize, you know, how much harm this does, and there are many forms of harassment, verbal harassment, groping, and in Arabic, the word means like teasing or flirting. It's not as serious as it is in English, mu'aksa. So maybe that's why they take it lightly. It's not a light issue. They need to realize that this is hurting the woman more than they can imagine, and they need to be ashamed of it.
I think I also need to pick up on something that you mentioned when you were recalling about the metro system and the fact that there's an economic element to this, that women are seen as competition by some circles. The act of harassment against women is in fact economic frustration, economic violence, economic retaliation. This is a key issue too, is it not?
I do agree with that because other states or other countries that they are high level of living, they don't have this much issues like we have in Egypt. I see main issue now culture and economic situation like Egypt being frustrated, if I can say that, because the problems that Egypt faces since 2011 until now, it's been different than before. So I see the poverty, even the poverty rate in Egypt now, it's below 40, I mean, it's above 45% off. So 45% of Egyptian people are above the poverty, lower than the poverty rate. So, and this is actually a big issue. If we look at it this way, so we have to change a lot. It's not only the attitude, we have to change even the rate of the income. So there is a lot of issues actually. It's not only one thing that we have to it's like a broad study. We have to look at it broad situation.
Well, Shahira, very quickly to you with a final thought. Did the fact that the present leader of Egypt took an interest in it, focused in it, does that make you more hopeful that things will begin to change?
No. It gives me some optimism, and in fact it was a nod of approval for the media, which has been towing the state line for many months now, to speak that it's okay to speak about the issue. So I think there will be more debate, because previously the debate was on social media networks only, but now that it's also in traditional media, and the fact that he's shown high-level commitment, he's given the green light to the Ministry of Interior, the police, and the judiciary to take action. Well, so hopefully things will change. But let's not forget very quickly, Mike, that some of these attacks have been politically motivated in the past as well. With state thugs being sent to protest areas to keep women away.
Well, at that particular point, we come to an end of this discussion. Thanks to my guests, Ayat Oraby and Shahira Amin. A reminder that Al Jazeera has been unable to report from Egypt this year. That's because our team there is in detention and has been since December the 29th. Peter Grester, Mohammed Fahmy and Baher Mohammed are falsely accused of providing a platform to the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood. Abdullah El-Shami from Al Jazeera's Arabic channel has been detained without trial since last August and is currently on hunger strike. Al Jazeera rejects all charges against its staff and continues to demand their immediate release. Well, you can keep up to date with Al Jazeera's extensive and continuing coverage of what's happening in Egypt on air and online. Let us know your thoughts. I'm Hanna. Thanks for watching. From me and all the team, goodbye for now.